We're constantly told that Islam preserved the works of the ancient Greeks when Europe didn't have them, because Europe fell into the Dark Ages and didn't have them, and all these sciences that the ancient Greeks had, and all this knowledge and philosophy was completely lost until the Christians opened up uh, the libraries of Cordoba and places like that in southern Spain and got them back. This is the biggest lie I've ever heard, and people keep saying it. Where did the Muslims get that from? Who are these Muslims? They sacked and destroyed the most technologically advanced civilization of its day, the Byzantine Empire. They reduced it to a small sliver on Anatolia and then wiped that out. That's where they got the works of all, Aristotle, Plato, all these guys, um, and all the technological advancements of the ancient Greeks, because the Roman Empire was still going on. It didn't fall into the Dark Ages. It just became Christian and it was still called the Roman Empire back then, but we refer to it retroactively as the Byzantine Empire. A empire that was turned Christian peacefully, uh, and when Islam took over, it fell into a dark. It caused the entire Middle East to fall into a dark ages, about 300 years, where nothing. I mean, music was outlawed, dancing was outlawed, things destroyed. Library at Alexandria permanently gone. People talk about Hypatia. She probably didn't exist. Uh, there's different incidences, but we know the last time when it was no longer rebuilt, when it was gone, boom, was when the Muslims came, because it was constantly being rebuilt. It was burned by accidentally by Pompey just before the birth of Christ. Many times it's caught fire and things like that, but when it was finally wiped away, it was by the Muslims. The Muslims destroyed tried to destroy almost every piece of writing. Now, luckily, there was civil war, and the Muslims, the holy people, saints of Islam, supposedly, were murdering and killing each other. So the focus really turned away from uh, religion and devotion to destroying technology, and they needed that technology for war, so they started preserving it. But if the Muslims hadn't done that, if Islam didn't come about, we would have we would be 300 years further in technology, and we wouldn't have lost all those works. It would have even been more. The West fell into the Dark Ages. The East did not. Uh, the Zoroastrians, they were reduced to small groups, and the largest group is in India called Parsis, and the Hindus made them swear not to convert anybody. That whole civilization, that culture, that religion, gone, reduced to something small and insignificant by Islam. In what knowledge the Persians have, we don't know that much about. Just like many places in the Byzantine Empire, uh, former Byzantine Empire, where Islam came. Uh, what about the pre-Islamic civilizations? Well, since Islam came around, systematic destruction of any of their cities, any of their art has occurred. Archaeological digs are pretty much banned in Saudi Arabia. We can see the Taliban destroying Buddhist statues. That's perfect Orthodox Islam. That's something that must happen. Uh, Pagan idols, carved images, yeah, destroy them, especially if they're objects of devotion for a religion that does not have protected status. Wipe it out. And the Taliban did that in total accordance and harmony with Islam, the Quran, and the Hadiths. This myth of that Islamic civilization was so superior. Well, when you wipe out all the other civilizations around you, and you're the only one, yeah, okay, then you're better. even though they wiped people out, wiped cultures out, wiped civilizations out. The technology that the West wound up regaining, because they knew about these people, they just didn't have the works, uh, was because the Muslims had destroyed the eastern part of the Roman Empire, the true Western civilization. They had, they had reduced it to ashes. Uh, Alexandria was, for a long time, it wasn't taken because the Muslim armies could only work on land. They had no technology for boats or anything like that. So it was 300 years after the conquest of Egypt that Alexandria was actually taken, because they couldn't take it. Just like what happened with Constantinople, they couldn't take they even after they took all of Anatolia, they couldn't take Constantinople for a very long time. So this myth, or in Spain, how the Muslims were so multicultural. No, it was second-class dimitude status for any non-Muslim. If a Muslim came by on a horse, the Christians had to turn away and walk the other way. If a Muslim's walking down the street and a Christian's walking down the street, the Muslim actually is commanded kick them into the gutter and make sure they take a hard path so the Christians would avoid them. Getting treated like that for 500 years, and then when the Christians came to power, they started the Spanish Inquisition, where only 3,000 people over a what was it, 300-year period were killed, or no, 500 were killed, and oh, it's million. No, it wasn't. But look at what Muhammad did. He killed 3,000 people within his lifetime. And that's being very, very generous, saying that, well, we're not going to count this or that or this or that or this. He beheaded uh, between 200 and 400 people, and that I'm lying there because it actually Ibn Ishaq actually lists it as between 600 and 800. I'm just dulling it down so when you go and check my numbers to try to argue with me, you'll be like, oh my God. Spanish Inquisition is actually 2,000. This is ridiculous, this myth of Islamic Enlightenment, or that, oh, we got this from them, and without them, the Renaissance wouldn't happen. Without them, the Renaissance would have happened 300 years earlier. So, yeah.